It's hard to rap that as like a fan. I can't imagine doing that in a leather jacket on the field under the lights.
I don't know if I can sit through 2 years of the most ridiculous rants ever and cluttered albums for 30 seconds of one great verse that reminds me of College Dropout. I can't do it anymore. Welcome back to a new episode of Billboard Unfiltered. We got to introduce our hip-hop editor, Angel Diaz. Welcome to the show. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. Excited to be finally on here.
It's your first time.
Yeah, first time. Well, first time caller, long time listener.
Well, this weekend we had the Super Bowl halftime show featuring Kendrick Lamar. The performance featured SZA, Samuel L. Jackson, Serena Williams, and Mustard. It was a very GNX heavy set list. He started off with an extended teaser of the unreleased track from that album, but then quickly went into Squabble Up, which then gave into Humble and DNA, some older classics. He brought out SZA for Luther and All the Stars. Closed things off with Not Like Us, featuring a very funny shit-eating grin, of course, and closing with TV Off. But we got to talk about the response to this show. It's officially broken the record for the most watched halftime show of all time. 133.5 million viewers. What are your thoughts, guys?
I thought it was good.
Yeah?
It was, the expectations were through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to gauge something like that because we've been expecting it since September.
Right.
And there's been all these, rumors and people just running off on tangents, trying to think about what he could do. The whole conversation, would he perform the song? Would he not perform the song? But at the end of the day, it's like, and I wrote a really, really quick piece about this during the show, is that what he delivered at the end of the day was a rap show.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the, during his interview with Ebro and Nadeska, he was basically like, yo, like, all this whole year has been like a continuum for me. It just feels like this is where I'm supposed to be. This is like what I do. He's like, I'm a rapper. And I think we've had rappers before. We've never had a rapper headline. And I think I'm glad it was Kendrick, because what we got from Kendrick was a real hip hop show, like a real rap show. There was, he didn't lean into his like pop bag. He didn't have, bad blood or he didn't, which I for a second I was like, Taylor's going to come down from the rafters like Sting.
Maroon 5 collab.
Yeah, I thought, for a second I thought someone was going to come down, and jump into the stadium like Gaga. But, he didn't dive into that. He kept his set list, like, outside of like the SZA collabs, it was super rap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and these are like rap songs.
Yeah.
Like, he did DNA. You know how hard it is to rap
DNA into Euphoria while sprinting down the
like,
fucking field.
It's hard.
Crazy.
That's a hard song to rap. I've been to the shows,
Mm-hmm.
and I've tried to rap along to the shit. It's hard to rap that as like a fan. I can't imagine doing that in a leather jacket on the field under the lights,
Getting from
while
set
running
to set, performing for the camera, performing for the audience in
It's
the
those
field.
burpees
like,
he be doing outside.
Right, them 6 miles
and
a day.
like remembering your like all your cues, because it's all choreographed, right? So you have to be at a certain spot at a certain time. He's doing all of this while rapping DNA
and self-censoring. Like, that was the craziest part. Like,
Yeah,
I know that
changed-
I would definitely forget
added new lyrics.
where I
It's
was
crazy.
cussing in a
So-
song or what I changed, and he was just like not making a single misstep the entire time.
It's crazy. So I, from that perspective, I thought it was good. I thought it was like a very, very, very well performed rap show. And we've never had a rap show at the Super Bowl, which is the most American of American sporting events.
Yeah.
It's Americana. It's like what people talk about when they talk about like middle America. This is that. And so for him to perform like an unadulterated rap show where he had songs, like performing fucking TV Off at this shit is crazy. Not to mention the actual Not Like Us. But, I think that's why people were a little like, oh, what is this? Because like we've never seen that before. We're used to seeing pop stars and
we're used to nostalgia too. I feel like that's
Yeah.
a really big part where like
yeah.
Super Bowl halftime shows, as we've come to understand them, are built on mining through people's catalogs.
Yeah,
like, we're
legacy-
looking for
legacy
the
plays.
signature songs. We're looking for the hit records.
It's like an icon award.
It is, exactly. And this
be.
guy got up there and performed like half of his brand new album that dropped 3 months ago.
Right.
We don't have an example comparable to that,
It's a
to
flex.
this level. And that's really cool because, you're in your Imperial phase right now. Why would you want to spend time, performing stuff from 10 years ago when you have a tour to promote that's coming out,
Right.
this year? You got new material, and you're at the top of your game right now. So
Like the
as much as I
oldest-
wanted to hear the old stuff, and I still do want to hear the old stuff, it's like I really respect the risk that he took there.
The oldest song was what? The Black Panther song?
Gosh. No, that came out after Damn.
Yeah, Humble,
So,
maybe?
Humble.
Oh, damn.
DNA?
Yeah.
Humble,
Well,
and Daily,
Humble.
that's 2017.
Humble, yeah.
It's crazy.
What about you?
Yeah, so, look, at first I was a little underwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was just a mix of the game being what it was. I was like on, I had to cover it, so I
Yeah.
was a little mad about that. And then like I was at a party too, so it was like a lot going on.
You was distracted.
Yeah, and I didn't really catch like a lot of some of the things that Samuel L was saying.
Yeah.
And some of like the stuff that he switched up or whatever in between. So when I got home afterwards, I was like, I gotta sit down, watch this again. And I was like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It was like impressive, just like all the points you guys were touching, like the win, his voice control. I don't know. I thought it was dope. The only thing I kind of wanted like some of the features to pop out.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the mariachi singer, Az. Man, I was checking his name too, and I forgot how to say it. Shike.
Is it Chike? GK?
Chike.
GK.
I wanted to see him do Peekaboo. So that was like just minor gripes. And when he I was telling Damien when he announced SZA and people were like trashing him for it, I was like, dang, he shouldn't have did that because I thought she was gonna do more. Honestly, I don't know. I just assumed, but it was cool that they just did Luther and all the
Yeah.
stars or whatever. But overall, man, and then when Spike posted his thing, congratulating him and thanking him for referencing his movies, like that kind of like put a light bulb on. You know what I'm saying? I was like, nah, I gotta go finally see Chirac, unfortunately.
I don't think you need to see Chirac, bro.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it
It's,
one of these days, like on
a
a
movie.
Saturday. Yeah,
It's a movie.
but just to catch, because I liked the people were saying it wasn't revolutionary. He's getting criticized for it. But I don't know, man. I like using Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam on that stage with Trump there and just the whole thing with the NFL. I thought it was pretty cool. You know what I'm saying?
When I sat down and, finally got over the fact that he didn't do what I wanted him to do and I got on board with what the vision was, I really did enjoy the show. I think from a production standpoint, at least on the telecast, the sound mixing was pretty shit. So, like, the first minute I couldn't really hear what he was saying, and I also couldn't hear what Samuel was saying. That obviously got fixed with the uploads later on, but not a great moment when you're watching the show in real time. That was pretty unfortunate. I also thought it was interesting how contained to the ground the entire show was. I feel like we've gotten used to people really playing with every part of the stadium, whether it's the roof or hanging platforms or something, but everything was on the ground, which is an interesting choice considering how small Kendrick already is as a dude. So maybe it would have been a little bit more dynamic if we got more scope
Yeah,
of
people
the
were saying
stadium
that
use.
wasn't as grand as
and I
other
think
shows.
part of it might just be, the new Apple Music's taking over the halftime show, because I feel like the past three have all been pretty minimalist in comparison to previous shows. Like, I'm thinking of like the Katy Perry 30-foot lion versus like the last three shows.
And
There's
when Lady
nothing
Gaga
like that.
jumped off
right,
the
jumping
stage,
off
Yeah.
of the
she
roof.
was like,
we don't get none of that
Gaga
recently.
jumping off the roof.
Like-
or even like Prince, just like
Diana
playing in
Ross
the
off
rain
the
with,
helicopter,
the
like
big curtain. and,
exactly.
yeah.
There's a lack of grandiosity, I feel like, with the Apple Music halftime shows that
lot
I
of spectacle.
don't hate it. I've liked every show so far, but I do think it's a notable difference.
I noticed that with the Rihanna show. Like,
Yeah,
this is-
really minimalist.
She just stood in one place for the whole time. I know she was
Two
I know
primary
she was
colors,
pregnant, yeah.
like
But it was like hers in one spot for the whole time with dancers just like doing their thing.
yup. I
Yeah.
also do think some pyro would have been helpful
Something.
to really like nail down and accent the cooler parts of the show. And that was another gripe that I had with the music arrangements of the show. Some of the songs that should have felt more epic didn't feel very epic in the moment, and I think if they were incorporating, I don't know, some more brass, some more live instrumentation into those tracks, it would have made for those moments. Like, Humble should have felt like a bigger moment than it did in Context. That entire stretch from Humble to DNA, like Euphoria, like he's doing crazy rapping and crazy performing, but the track felt flat in the background.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Well, it made me wonder. I was actually talking to Hannah about this. Hannah's our big boss, about the idea of Kendrick going on this like on the stadium tour, and not to derail our thing here, but it's like I imagine he's gonna have to create new arrangements for some of the songs because and I've talked about this with a bunch of people before, but there was like a shift that happened when Ye dropped Graduation. On that album he talked a lot about like stadium status and how in interviews at that time he talks about how he wanted certain producers like DJ Toomp because his synths allowed the songs to like have this large soundscape, and he was able to, all the songs were able to breathe, and he like minimized the number of words he was saying, and he rapped differently on those songs because he wanted them to be able to be performed on this like huge stage. I see Travis Scott as like the end point of that of that trail, and I think for Kendrick, I'm curious after this show, which I did like, I'm curious how it's going to translate across the nation because, again, this is a guy who is very small in stature, but big presence, but is able to do incredible vocal gymnastics, is able to rap, like really rap without the backing track, is able to do all of these like really incredible rap feats.
hop in and out of choreo while doing so.
But the songs themselves are like so tightly wound and are so, they're like Swiss watches in the way that they're constructed, and I wonder how that will translate on a big stage.
I wonder if we get more like almost laid back kind of jazzy arrangements like we got with Man at the Garden, where like he switched up the flow a little bit and it was a bit more relaxed than what it is on the record.
Title on Master.
Yeah,
stuff.
like I wonder if we get something like that, or if he just uses SZA like as that kind of instrument, because this tour will be more 50-50 than what the halftime show was. So maybe she's the bridge in between those two different modes for him. But of course, there also was some controversy with the halftime show. This was a very Black Americana forward halftime show. Kendrick really was using images of the American flag, performing the show in front of Donald Trump, making these kinds of subtle statements that some people thought were too subtle for the moment that we're in right now. I have an essay that's up on the site right now where I'm kind of talking about how feasible it is to use a stage like the NFL halftime show to make these kind of political statements, because at the end of the day, we have this version of the halftime show because Roc Nation kind of threw Colin Kaepernick under the bus when he was trying to enact real change. Do the same stuff that Kendrick is alluding to when he's talking about, televising or not televising a revolution, whatever that means to him. So go ahead and check that out. I really break down the argument there. But I think it's something for us to... What's up?
Are you trying to say we're not past kneeling?
I don't think we're past kneeling. I don't know. I think if we can still see so many, what do you call them? Parallels between the gridiron and the plantation. I don't know if we're past kneeling. I don't know if we can just sit down and clap for a show like this and move on. Maybe we need to demand something a little bit more from our artist. But then again, he ain't our savior, and he has really reminded us of that time and time again over the past year.
Would a more powerful statement be boycotting the halftime show?
I think that Loki might have been the most hip hop decision of all, turning it down. But there's also something to be said about bringing hip hop to a stage like this.
He also had that moment where they kind of all the people dressed in the red, white, and blue, where they all laid on the ground, kind of like chalk bodies. People were trying to say they look like swastikas, but I think it's probably like a reach.
I think it was probably a reach, probably like a combination. I think it's probably more chalk bodies because that is what the setting gave to me more than that. But like those people were the stars and the stripes of the flag, and them turning their bodies into swastikas, that also is a statement that wouldn't be completely out of line with where the country is headed right now. So that makes sense too if we want to interpret it that way. But then that goes back to the question of, if we have so many different ways to interpret these images, are these images doing what he thinks they're doing?
Right.
And I think that is a question that we're going to have to wrestle with, and that we've been wrestling with for, a long time, going back to Beyonce's Black Panther nodding 2016 Super Bowl performance to her own Cowboy Carter album cover last year. These are conversations that have really been rocking, the Black American creative world as we try to figure out.
Man, it's
what
just
this
hard
flag
to be
means to us.
revolutionary while also being capitalistic.
Exactly. You can't be both.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's trying to sell out the stadium tour. He's trying to sell this album, sell these physical copies.
It's a tough thing to do, man.
Yeah, it's also I think that there is an expectation for Black artists, to go into these spaces and to always bring with them, the plight and the pain and all of the baggage that comes with being Black to that big stage, because you're like, now's the time.
Yeah.
Now's your time to show people, what it is that we're going through. And I think it may be futile to try to do that, because it's, as we've seen from the response to the show from people who, aren't particularly rap fans, they're like, what the fuck is this? This is boring.
Yeah.
It's like, he could be up there, saying the most like revolutionary shit, and people would have been like, the fuck is this? There are people who thought what he was doing was like Black power, super radical, and they're like, this is not the time for that. Take that dead press shit somewhere else.
And then there were also some who thought that it was like a complete embrace of just classic Americana
which
imagery.
I don't even.
And I
still
don't know
can't
how
wrap
you
my-
get to that endpoint, but it's like that's the state
still
of
can't
media
even fucking
literacy
wrap my
right
head
now.
around
Where
that
it's
shit.
like, yeah, people can look at this show and be like, yeah, he loves America versus no, he hates America.
There are
It's like, wow.
but they were mad at him for loving America. They're like, now you love America.
It's like
Yeah.
you're
Like,
so
bro.
far off base. It's like, where are you?
It's kind of like a damned if you don't, damned if you do. But I think you're right. I think there's like a like you're putting yourself in a tough spot if what you're trying to do is thread that needle.
Right. And I think we do put that pressure and expectation on Black artists. And when you then take up the mantle, you then expose yourself to these kinds of criticisms and conversations, because certain things just cannot coexist.
And no one knows that better than Kendrick Lamar.
Exactly. This
You
is
know?
something that he
Yeah,
has
in
wrestled with for years.
Yeah.
And
And then
dating
his
back
in-
to Pepper Butterfly.
In his Apple Music interview, he was like, "Oh, I'm doing this for the culture." That's like his big thing.
Yeah.
He's like ridding, killing the party, as he was saying.
Speaking of killing the party, I mean, he did also deliver another KO with Drake. Did we expect him to rap that much of Not Like Us?
I thought this whole time, I've said it to everybody. I've said it in group chats. I've said it in meetings. I thought what he was going to do was perhaps play, which is kind of what he did. I thought he was going to play like
A rendition,
the beat,
or something.
like play the
Like
intro to
tease
the
it.
beat and then go into TV off
Uh-huh.
and just like let people get excited and go into TV off. But no, my man really just went out there.
He's like, "Oh, you want to sue?
Yeah, he's
Let's-
like,
let's play this game. You want to play this game? Let's play
like,
it."
you
You know what I mean?
want to take this as far as it can go? All right.
Like, I just,
And they sent a statement as soon as that shit was over.
I cannot like
They had the
overstate
statement
just
ready.
how iconic of a moment that was to
It's the-
sit through. Like, he really got up on the Super Bowl halftime stage, rapped this track, called the man out
Said
by
his name, bro. He said
say
his
Drake
name.
with this ridiculous
Had
grin to the
everybody's-
camera,
had-
like
had
that
everybody's-
immediately went viral. Like, he looking great in the jeans and the freaking jacket. Like, it's just like,
I mean, he
wow,
bleeped out pedophile, but then had everybody
and
say,
then they were like,
has
"Oh, we're gonna
everybody
mute
say
the crowd
A
at
minor.
this point."
Of course.
so
But
they
it's
can
like,
hear y'all
you know,
do A minor.
like Angel and I are both older than you. I grew up at a time when the most popular thing for a rapper to say to another rapper was, if you got beef, say my name. Like when Jay-Z and Mace were beefing. It's like, you got beef with Jigga, nigga, say my name. Don't be shy. Like, that was the era that I came from. And this motherfucker goes on the stage, 33 million people,
million.
and says, hey, Drake.
Oh,
You
yeah,
like him, yeah.
that was kicking everybody's ass yesterday.
Drake.
The 200.
Yeah, Super
million
Bowl
half-
viewers versus halftime viewers, y'all. If y'all gonna try to
They
share a graphic
tricked
to
me at
clock
first
somebody,
too. They tricked me
read
at
the
first
graphic
too,
that
but-
you're sharing.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Different numbers.
But saying his name was just insane.
Saying
man.
his
I
name-
don't. If this wasn't the best diss song of all time before this,
So is
Into
it's
like
over.
the choreo time to the lyrics for
did you
like
did
don't
you
go to cell
did you
block
hear the
one,
you
like-
heard the button rant?
yeah,
It's like it's over.
It's
I
over,
mean, how
bro.
does he come back
it's
from
over.
this?
There's no.
The only thing he has to, like, you get off the mat, dust yourself off, try again.
Don't
You know what I'm
ever
saying?
don't ever mention his name again. Don't
He can't.
just leave this alone. It's over, bro.
Yeah, you can just stick to posting pictures with Serena's publicist or whomever the fuck.
Go diss somebody else.
I guess we'll figure out what Drake does this weekend when this Party Next Door album drops. But another rapper was all over the headlines this weekend, thanks to his anti-Semitic spree on X. Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, went on a hate-filled tweet spree on Friday morning, February 7th, in which he once again praised Nazis and Adolf Hitler and insulted the LGBTQ community and people with disabilities. He was also reportedly selling a sweatshirt on his Yeezy website, similar to the one that Cassie was wearing in the widely seen 2016 assault video that he was then calling the Love Hoodie, seemingly in reference to Diddy's nickname, Love. Other things that happened with Ye this weekend. He asked Donald Trump to, quote, please free my brother Puff. Kai Cenat canceled a planned stream with him after he saw the tweets. Ye then deleted his X account after a extremely misogynistic spree, and then thanked Elon Musk for, quote, allowing him to vent. He then crashed the Super Bowl with a commercial during the Super Bowl in general, where he sent people to his Yeezy website to sell one item, which was a swastika t-shirt. Shopify later said that the rapper violated their terms and took down the site. Ye was then dropped by his booking agent after the rant and that t-shirt sale. What the fuck do we do with Ye at this point, yo?
Oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah, it's like every year this is...
It's disappointing, man. It's sad. No.
I was
and like,
asked,
how much do you blame, or not give him a pass, but it's like, clearly has mental health issues, so it's like, it's just, I don't know what to say, man.
He has mental health issues, but he's still like lucid enough to
like joke around,
do a bunch of things.
Right.
He has
Dude's
some
running
funny,
around,
he has some,
you know,
he's
getting
lucid
a bunch
enough
of
to
things
book
done.
Super
he's
Bowl
still funny.
commercials,
He's still
Yeah,
funny.
he launched a new website, had a whole bunch of product on there, had launched new shoes,
including an album that was up for pre-order.
Yeah, was working on an album, had like a rollout that included, you know, teaching his daughter how to produce, and he had, you know, Justin LeBoy's podcast as like a extension of that rollout. So it's like, yeah, he has mental health issues, but I don't know if we could still use that crutch when he goes and does these things. Does he have, you know, is it possible that he has these moments where, you know, he flares up and he's unable, you know, maybe doesn't take his medication? I'm not trying to diagnose him, but it happens so often now that it's tough for me to be like, yeah, he just needs to get some help.
Yeah,
It's like, no, this guy is clearly doing this on purpose. There was
Shock
someone who outlined like he does this every Super Bowl.
He's a shock jock.
He doesn't like not being the center of attention, and
He's a little jealous.
This time it wasn't just the Super Bowl,
because
like,
he should have been did the Super Bowl,
right? And now we have a rapper completely dominating the halftime show, and it's
Like if-
not Ye.
He's never gonna do it now.
Oh, not yet.
But
So
that shit's over.
I think it was around Ye.
It was
That album was
after-
when I was like, I think the writing's on the wall for me here.
after Life of Pablo, I got off the train. I still check in, and you know,
Yeah, I'll check
he'll
in.
have
Like, I will still
flashes.
check in for like
you know,
Donda and
Daytona,
shit. Right,
the
whatever he's
Pusha albums, he
producing.
did great.
I mean, look,
That's just
one of
production.
the
Like he's
most-
not saying anything.
He's one of the most talented artists of our generation. That's without question. You know,
Probably
it's-
the most talented.
Yeah, it's
In
like
terms of rap, anyway.
the analogy I always think about is like, I remember being introduced to James Brown, and I've since gone back and listened and watched everything. I'm a huge James Brown fan, but when I was first introduced to James Brown was wilding. Like he was on the news, like clearly on drugs, saying ridiculous things to people. He was always in the news for something. That was my introduction to James Brown, was like this crazy old black guy that is completely untethered. But when I went back and, like, you know, did the research and looked at all the stuff he did and listened to music, and, you know, I knew he was a legend, but by the time I got introduced to him, it was over. Going back to him, I'm like, damn, like this guy was, you know, he's James Brown.
Imagine
you
hearing
learn what James Brown is.
Imagine
Like,
hearing that
that's their
stuff for the first
experience.
time, some of that James Brown shit.
But like, there are kids now being introduced to Ye as a person who seems completely unhinged. He's on X calling himself a Nazi and saying that he is Hitler. He's being sued by a former employee who has text messages with him saying,
crazy
"You
shit.
now work for Hitler." Welcome to. It was just some craziness, but their idea of Ye is completely different than our idea of Ye, and to a new generation, I don't think that power is there. And so each time he does one of these things, it gets diluted because the kids aren't going to be like, oh, I know Ye has another My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy in him. That's like classical music in their eyes.
That's why I try to tell people that like them younger rappers on is what made Carnival.
Yeah.
Playboy Cardi.
And we gonna see that
Cardi.
with these next couple records where it's like young people just aren't here for Ye.
He immediately sabotaged when they went number one. Like he went like on a rant about like, oh, I'm back at number one.
Yeah.
And started
his
shitting
whole thing
everybody.
has been like, oh, now that I'm back and rich, I can do anything I want. And it's like,
It's at 2.77 and counting. I don't know where he's getting his money from anymore.
That shit's all fake. I don't believe that shit for a second. But I think going forward now, I don't know what happens next for Ye, but I do know that, as I said, the first time he did these things, when we were, all his fans were like, oh, I believe in him. I think he's going to, he's going to clean himself up and he's going to come back and make something good. That's not there anymore. So now I don't know what he does. I don't know how Ye gets back if you don't have a built-in base to bolster you when you need it. Because we're done. We're the ones that should be like, yeah, like, don't worry, man. Get some help, and we'll be here for you. We're like, the fuck out of here, bro.
He's definitely exhausted his chances.
Like it's over. Right? We're all like, nah, bro. Like, peace.
There was an interesting question that I was like mulling over in my head, over just like, at what point do we as media kind of stop giving him so much express attention? Like, maybe not a complete, we're not covering you anymore, but like, do we need to give everything that he says? Like,
yeah, it's like the Trump paradox.
Exactly. It's like, at what point are we just aiding this?
Yeah.
Because he knows that he's doing this because he wants to be talked about. So,
are you guys excited for Bully? Oh, I mean, I don't even know if that's coming out.
That's a great
anymore,
question. Am I excited for Bully? Not presently.
Yeah, I haven't been excited for anything. I'll probably check it out, because I have to, and off of pure curiosity. But yeah, I don't know, man. He needs to just like shut up. Make beats and shut up. Like I don't know. It's probably hard for him to do that.
I think that's where I'm at with Ye.
What's crazy? I thought this was supposed to be the time where he was like, oh, I'm
going back to basics.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like be quiet.
Myself.
I'm getting it. He's like, I'm chopping the samples by myself. I'm not doing anything with anybody. It's just gonna be me. Like this makes me. He's like, my daughter made me fall back in love with music. I'm gonna get back to it.
Everybody's talking about Kendrick and Drake. He couldn't take it.
He really could not take it.
Like, even in the Justin LeBoy interview, he was, like Justin was like, why do you think people have this view of you as like this crazy person? And he's like, because I keep doing crazy shit. And but he said it as like
aware.
Yeah, he said it as like, I understand why people have this view of me because I kept doing these things. And he said it, as if he was understanding, like, yeah, I'm no longer going to act this way. And then literally a week later, it was like, I'm a Nazi.
It's a black skinhead, man. He trying to tell us.
Yeah, I think thinking on the Bully question, just not presently excited for, mostly because the small glimpses of genius that we get from Ye in recent years, they're not enough to keep me sticking around at this point. Like, I don't know if I can sit through 2 years of the most ridiculous rants ever and like cluttered albums for 30 seconds of one great verse that reminds me of College Dropout. I can't do that anymore.
Especially if he's going to be using AI to like make new flows for himself.
That's an immediate no for me.
That shit is crazy, bro.
Sad,
what are we doing?
Real sad. But what are y'all listening to instead? What's the new rotations on y'all playlist?
Well, I've been listening. I listen. You had mentioned, him. Kendrick deciding to do GNX.
Mhm.
I mean, it worked for him because it boosted his sales, and I started listening to it too again. I've been listening to the Larry June, Alchemist, 2 Chainz
Yeah,
joint.
2 Chainz been crazy on that one.
And the Bad Bunny I'm still listening to. I wrote something about how GNX and Bad Bunny's album is like similar, like super regional or whatever. So I've been listening to those two a lot lately.
True. Dame?
Yeah, I'm listening to the Larry June album, the Larry June 2 Chainz joint.
You gonna get a LLC? Some LLC raps.
I was like surprised that 2 Chainz fits so well into it. There's one beat on there that I was like, I know Benny is mad that they got this shit called Generation. I was like, I know Benny is mad that Al gave this away to someone else. But yeah, great album. I was surprised.
Yeah.
Alchemist is genius, man.
Yeah, he's really just. I'm glad he's using drums again. I'm glad it's like real like hip hop drums back in his beats. It also makes me wonder like what Currency thinks about all of this.
So I actually have never even.
Because like Larry June is like similar.
I just feel like this is all like
the shit he's been
a bag he started years ago.
Yeah.
And now like smooth street raps over like,
about
really
weed,
lush
cars, and
sample.
making money.
Yeah, rapping about like the affectations of being a rich nigga is like
you got all your cars in your mother's name.
Nah, bro.
Some of that stuff.
This is like his lane. Like there's beats on here. I was like, damn, I know Currency would smash this. But yeah, great album.
I guess it's not even a new addition to my playlist. This song dropped back in December on the full blown rhythm. But The Greatest Bend Over by Young Brother is just such a freaking phenomenal song. Just so catchy. He sounds fantastic on it. I love it. I cannot get enough of this song. I can't wait to see how much it dominates Carnival season going forward. Really, really great breakout song for him right
Are you going back out there?
Hopefully. Need someone to freaking invite me out there. I got unfinished business in the island. So
I gotta make my way out there. I haven't been in a minute.
Hell yeah. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Billboard Unfiltered. We'll catch you guys next week.